As the world reels amid the most worsening disruption in a lifetime, there is abundant evidence that nature is disintegrating and our planet is flashing red warning signs. This destruction of nature by humans has disastrous consequences not only for wildlife populations but also for human health and many aspects of our lives. A substantial cultural and systemic shift is urgently needed, one that humanity has so far failed to embrace. A transition to society and economic system that values nature.
Are we aware of the problems of why we are experiencing so many inconveniences, such as heavy heat, climate change, death of plants, animals, and many more? I wish we are aware, but we are not. Sadly, life is not the same as before. There are so many reasons why our world is like this, where we encounter different environmental problems that create health problems. There are only few of our planet's current environmental issues: air pollution, biodiversity loss, coral bleaching, climate change, illegal mining, deforestation, and more.
The challenges that our planet's facing are dreadful, yet some are still not worried about it. It's in this moment that each one of us fulfills our part as stewards of God's creation, as we still have our chance, because when our time is up, no one can recycle a wasted time. So how can we help in order to make our planet recover?
We should minimize any kind of pollution, be it in the form of air or water. The largest issues facing our society today are air and water pollution. The industries are to blame for this pollution since they release massive amounts of smoke into the atmosphere, which pollutes the air and kills aquatic and marine life. Due to the usage of pesticides, which release chemicals into the air and can enter water streams, agricultural operations also harm the water and air. Health is severely impacted by the consequences of water contamination. Drinking or coming into contact with contaminated water can cause a variety of illnesses, including skin infections, diarrhea, cholera, typhoid. The greatest concern in areas without access to drinking water is dehydration, as is clear. The current state of the world due to global warming can be impacted by air pollution.
Green agriculture is one solution to this pollution, which calls for the use of organic fertilizers and a reduction in the use of chemicals. Waste management also aids in reducing water pollution, and preventing air pollution can also prevent water pollution because 25% of human-induced carbon dioxide emissions are absorbed by the oceans. Our ocean's vast acidity is brought on by these pollutants.
Second, by practicing the 3 Rs to reduce, reuse, and recycle. This principle helps cut down on the waste we throw away. They conserve natural resources, landfill space, and energy. The first R is to reduce. The best way to manage waste is not to produce it. This can be done by shopping carefully and avoiding overpackaged goods, especially ones packed with several materials such as foil, paper, and plastics. The second R is to reuse. It makes economic and environmental sense to reuse products. Sometimes it takes creativity. We can reuse products for same purpose. For example, save paper and plastic bags and repair broken appliances, furniture, and toys. And the third R is to recycle. Recycling is a series of steps that takes us used materials and processes, remanufactures, and sells it as a new product.
Applying the CLEGO or Clean As You Go principle. CLEGO is a practice commonly observed in some fast food chains and other public places to minimize risk to hygiene, health, and safety. This method encourages all of us to make a cleaning part of our daily routine. From the surfaces, tables, and or other equipment, we need to ensure that these are clean, hygienic, and clutter-free. Than being obsessed with cleanliness, this practice is our little way of showing how we care for our environment. Instead of relying entirely on street sweepers or city cleaners, we should at least make an effort on cleaning up our own mess.
Tree planting is important because tree roots help to keep soil in place and fight erosion, causing landslides. It also absorbs and stores rainwater, which helps to reduce runoffs of sediment accumulation after storm. Recharging of groundwater supplies. The prevention of chemical transport into streams and prevention of flood. Tree absorbs and sinks carbon that would otherwise contribute to global warming as they grow. Trees use sunlight energy to perform photosynthesis, which is a process that converts carbon dioxide and water into energy for their cells.
Genesis chapter 2, verse 15 says, "The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it." We recognize that all created things belong to God, and we are accountable to Him as stewards of the creation. Genesis chapter 2, verse 15. Mining is a generally disruptive operation that can alter the landscape over a much wider region than the actual mining site. Years after a mining closes, the repercussion of this harm may still be felt in the form of increased greenhouse gases, the demise of flora and animals, and eroding land and habitat. As believers of Christ, it is already stated in our scriptures that it is our duty to be stewards of God. Additionally, protection of the environment involves protecting biodiversity, fighting pollution, conserving natural resources, and most significantly, preserving our environment for subsequent generations.
Nature had been providing us sufficient amount of resources over time ever since the humankind existed. Food, shelter, water, and medicine, the basic existential needs that made us survive our daily living. Deforestation is one of the process of how we collect natural resources to provide our shelter, furnitures, and other chemical construction compounds. As years of continuous deforestation in forms of Cainian system and minings, the effect of this process had caused disasters, reflecting to the destruction that we have done. Protecting and regrowing our nature doesn't only require planting and cleaning our surroundings, but also protecting and preserving our wildlife animals. Wildlife animals had the biggest role as the primary receiver and contributor in our ecosystem. They are the main reactant in environmental changes, they are the pollinators, and the main facilitators of a balanced ecosystem. Both extinction of wildlife and their home would always haunt us and to the next generations if we continue to disregard environmental changes and problems. The global warming, greenhouse gases, pollution, and drought is the revenge that we unconsciously enjoyed as we only focus on the needs that we continue to get in nature without even replacing it or contributing. Human being is the highest and most intelligent creations in the whole existence. We are the one to fix each damage of our actions and replace the stolen things that we get from nature. Replant, regrow, and let wildlife reproduce. As a biology student who is now studying the science of all forms of life, the awareness that I've learned in the knowledge of botanical, zoological, and environmental studies would be my motivation to create a contribution for our environment. Our goal is to study the life cycle, the process, and the factors that cause extinction to the wildlife creations that would lead us into solutions and immediate response to what is going on in our environment. I hereby serve my duty and course to make my commitment possible.
As God's stewards, one of the ways we may demonstrate our love for Him is by taking care of His creation rather than destroying it. Every action has consequences, so we must be aware of what we are doing. Let us look back and contemplate what brought about the current suffering of our earth. Perhaps we might find the answer we want.
In Genesis chapter 1 verse 26 to 28, human beings have a special role within creation. One interpretation of how human beings bear the image of God says that human beings are like God because they perform the functions of God and are God's representatives. As humans, we are born into this world with a mission. Each of us has our own mission, but we all have one task that we must fulfill, and that is to care for the creation of God. Even though we are not perfect and making mistakes is expected, we must still try to avoid them. By learning from our mistakes, we may become more determined and inspired to perform better.
The time has come for us to realize that we are co-travelers on the journey of life. How we enjoy and perform on this journey depends on how we look after the only vehicle that looks after the planet Earth. We owe it a debt of gratitude to protect, improve, and sustain it. Our climate is changing, so why aren't we? Earth, our only home, is deteriorating. Let's step up together to save it. Your actions and efforts to do so, may it be small or simple, it all matters. Make your action now. This is your chance to save our only planet because we don't have a planet B. The ability to save and restore the planet cannot be vested in the government, large corporations, or any other group. It lies in the individual's hand, including yours and mine.